Eamon, Javers, what's with the lid?
Yeah, Shep, we don't know, and White House staff inside the building are clearly grappling with the events that have overtaken the Trump administration today. And I can tell you that I've been texting and emailing with a number of current and former White House officials today to get a sense of their mood. And one former White House official tells me that there are mid-level people inside the White House who are discussing resignation today, but there is no expectation that any senior White House people would resign in the wake of today's events and the way the president has conducted himself. This former White House official telling me that about a half dozen people in the White House today are talking about the possibility of resignations. No resignations in protest at all from any Trump people in the White House that we know of just now. This is described as not a huge number, but not insignificant. The fear is from some of these people that they will be criticized for doing too little too late in terms of any potential resignations. But I can tell you that a former White House official tells me that idea is being discussed by mid-level officials inside the Trump White House now. I can also tell you there is a line of thinking inside the White House about the idea of resigning, that if you do that, you will be criticized for having stayed past all sorts of demarcation points and done too little too late and just resigned in the last couple of days of this administration. But this is roiling the White House staff, even as the president is doing what you've been describing as sending out these tweets and failing to take a bold public leadership role here in suppressing this. We're also hearing from NBC News that some White House aides appear shaken by the events that have transpired today, which have been airing on televisions in the West Wing. A person familiar with the meeting said there's been some hard days and some challenging days in Washington, but I would say that this one is the toughest. So White House aides shaken, Shep, by today's events and their president's leadership, and really doing some soul searching and trying to figure out what they need to do now. Shep.
We really are in a new place, Eamon, because, you know, when the President of the United States speaks live, you go to him live. Well, that won't ever happen when I'm sitting in this chair again. I won't do it. I will say no, because the President has most recently, when speaking to us, incited those who would create violence. He did it today. He's done it before. Yeah. I mean, we're in a place where I don't know what the value is to hear from him anymore, and I'm not entirely sure how it is that the people around him continue in their positions, given what we've seen and heard today.
Well, that's a question, right? I mean, if you stay in your position as a White House aide now, are you endorsing this president's conduct today? And even if it is only a few days between now and the next president taking office, do you lend your integrity to these events today by continuing on? And that's a question for those officials to determine. But I can tell you, Shep, that I've been talking with national security experts all week this week about that op-ed that we saw from the former defense secretary saying that there is no role for the U.S. military in any political decision inside the United States, and asking national security experts why those defense secretaries felt compelled to put that op-ed out this week. What was it that they were concerned about? And again from national security experts earlier in the week, I heard the concern that they were worried that the president could incite violence and then use that violence as a pretext to move forward with the Insurrection Act and urge the military to then take control of Washington, D.C. or other areas. And that was the concern, that the military would be brought in to quell violence. And that is a scenario that those defense secretaries clearly were wary of and wanted to put some guardrails down and say the U.S. military does not have any role in the political process of the United States. That they had to give that warning earlier this week was concerning on its face, and that we are now seeing violence in the streets of Washington, D.C. is also concerning on its face. And the question is, what is the president and what are the people around him going to do in the hours and days to come? We don't know the answer to that, Shep.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.